time before Wilds of Eldraine came out, trying to figure out a way to play Aether Vial. Sorry, this is Aether Vial plus Power Conduit in Scales, and I really think Elvish Archivist just gives you that extra good violable creature to like actually let the formula of Aether Vial Power Conduit in a Scales build work. Whenever one or more artifacts enters the battlefield under your control, put 2 counters on it. Ability triggers once each turn. Whenever an artifact, whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield, draw cards. You get to draw a card of Saga and Scales. And you're actually going to be triggering this on your opponent's turn pretty often, where you go like turn 1 Aether Vial, turn 2 Archivist, and then Vial and a 1-drop on their turn, immediately a 2/3. Then on your turn it's a 4/5, and it can grow again. Been very excited to try this out. It's certainly a experimental build, but one I think is pretty cool. All right. You had me at Vial Scales. Yeah, I've wanted to play Vial and Scales for the longest time. Uh-oh. Come on. Why you gotta ruin all the fun? We maybe are able to race this. The Archivist is going to be huge. So, I guess maybe we should just leave it on 1, but still wait a little bit. I'm just gonna do this now, or I could Vial this in on my opponent's turn, trigger the Archivist again. I guess that's actually that was the line, huh? Wait and see if I draw another Archivist. Okay, we've jumped the gun a little bit. I might actually play this on 0 so I can trigger the Archivist here. So we're taking for 5 down to 15. The next turn this will be 4, 6. Let's do it. Kind of soft to a ring, no matter what, though. Oh, I always love the flex. The flex of not sacking the map. Karn the Great Creator, not too scary. Drawing Arcbound Ravager, pretty good. Archivist, so good, you have to use a Karn the Great Creator on it, huh? So we'll take this up to 2. Take the Power Conduit. Put the Ravager into play. I kind of just like sacking the Ravager to itself. Modular 2 counters onto Sentinel. Use the Sentinel to kill Karn. And I have a 3 counter Sentinel, which is more likely to draw me a card. I can hit my opponent for 5. Yeah, I'm all this clicking is me updating the deck list. Hold on. You own Scales and Paper? Yeah, I think I just own original Ravagers. It may be like the promo that's like the beast. I guess they're all beast, but like the glowing beast one. I own it. I haven't ever put it together, but I will be putting it together soon, I think. They revealed Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger, which is definitely a card I would have liked to see here. Hoping not to see a ring. Wormcoil is probably not beatable, but if I draw I need another Ravager, I guess. Although not being able to sack this is a problem. Draw Ballista. Alright, I will concede. Tron right off the bat, probably not what we wanted to see. I'm going to bring in my Triple Needle. Cut my Shadowspear. Cut and probably 2 conduits. Kind of slow in this matchup. Could also go down and land on the play, just down at Caverns. How have the Wolves been so far? They've been good. They've been good. The first day, Besiege the Mirror and the Turtle both underperformed, but Up the Beanstalk and Agatha Soul Cauldron, Up the Beanstalk, Questing Druid, and then what was the other one? The other one have all overperformed. This is our first match with Elvish Archivist. What was the other card? I'm sure someone in chat knows. No, we're not playing Cauldron in this build. Just like there's just not enough room with Aether Vial. Yeah, Knight of Sweet's Revenge. Yeah, I mean that deck was so cool. How could I forget? I think I'm gonna go for Ravager, Ozolith, Ballista, kill at some point this game. Tron's a pretty tough matchup. Yeah, no, I said Questing Druid, the Prowess dude. The Questing Druid was really good too. Really wish we got the 5-0 yesterday. Mites or Wormcoil. Mite cannot exile Wormcoil, can only exile non-creatures. Wow, they let me draw a card. Adding a Pendulum and a Forest to a few basics. This build is like a lot more color intensive, being green-white splash the boss's activation, so I don't think that you can. Or that you should, maybe, I should say. Normal Scales doesn't play Vial. Does the green elf make it more valuable? Yeah, I've been trying to build Scales with Vial for months now. And it just always felt like there was one, like, you're just missing one good value 2-drop that works with your deck to play, and Archivist is kind of just exactly that, is the theory. Is it better than normal Scales? Probably not, but I definitely have been excited to give it a go. I think it's a pretty cool variant, no matter what happens. I'd love to draw a Hardened Scales. That should give us lethal. Perfect. Yeah, whenever an artifact enters the battlefield for the first time on a turn, which means you can Vial or Saga to grow on your opponent's turn. 2 counters, enchantment enters, draw a card. So, Scales, draw a card. Ozolith, 2 counters. Play Ballista. This should be lethal. Guess it's a little weird. Where I go, so sack this. 5 counters. 5. Is it a little short? So they're at 12. 5 counters. Sack 7. Yeah, that's enough. Could put DM on the Archivist for fun. Yeah, I think Cauldron's really good. I think in this build you like barely meet the requirements for Vial. You can play 1 Cauldron over a Power Conduit, but also like we're not playing Hangerback Walker. We have like less artifact creatures in general. I think that this is just not going to be as good of a Soul Cauldron deck in general. Very close hand. It's Mulligan. Maybe not that close. I don't know what your definition of close is. So bottom Ingenious Smith, exile Forest. I guess it's better to bottom Forest and then exile Ingenious Smith so we could fetch for it. Turn 1 Elvish Archivist is cool. We can draw a card off the Scales. Picks the 3 months. Thank you. Yeah, the Logic Knot was so cool today. You ever play Elvish Archivist on turn 1? We would love to see another turn 4 Tron hand. That would be awesome. They reveal Oblivion Stone. And there's a forest. Okay, so turn 4 Tron at the earliest. A land would be really good just to go Archivist Scales, draw 2. Not quite that lucky. I think we should go Scales, Zabaz. Get in for 3. Maybe a little slow. Should we play second Archivist? I wasn't sure. I feel like I wanted to get more power toughness and play immediately. If we don't draw a land next turn for the Archivist, it's going to be kind of tough. But I mean, it's going to be a tough game no matter what, assuming that they have turn 4 Tron. Oh my gosh, this is the luckiest game ever. They just don't have anything. Don't know that I've ever seen them draw so bad. I need to make sure I don't fumble the bag and miss lethal. So if I play a Sentinel this turn, I'm adding 3 power to my board. That deals the damage immediately. Archivist is just kind of delayed by a turn. Not so lucky. They chose not to mulligan. Well, that's what's lucky about this. I'm playing against a Tron player who like is just punting. I think it's very rare. I mean, I don't know. Maybe not. Like they did have stirrings and they had a lot of pieces. I don't know. But they're pretty dead. Yeah, I don't know. They had Tron piece, stirring. I mean, they didn't have guaranteed turn 3 Tron, but they were on the play. Yeah, I mean, we just playing the Ozolith is lethal just with the Archivist. I mean, we have 9 power in play right now. They're at 9. Okay, well, I'm very happy to have beaten Tron round 1. That was like certainly when I was building the deck, like the one thing I wanted to avoid if possible. Hand with multiple scales. Imagine just drawing land off the top. Look at that. Okay, we'll keep this. Put back the. I think we put back second Vial instead of Drum. It is kind of close. Relative to 10 years ago, I can't recall any decks using outside of Eldrazi Winter for consistent turn 2 Thought-Knots here. I mean, it's seen a lot of play over the years. That's probably the first time I remember seeing it. Yeah, Prison decks have played it. Rhinos currently plays it. Scales, like, always plays it, usually. Has anybody ever played Gemstone Caverns in Hammer? Because I just said it out loud for the first time ever, and it sounds kind of great. I don't know. Okay, not a horrible burn matchup for us, but not a amazing one, probably. Let's go and play this tapped. Would have liked to be on the play. Second Rolling Vortex. I can work with this. Hopefully they suspend the Rift Bolt. You definitely see, my opponent says, oh, time to turn off stream. Thankfully they said this before I do the Shadowspear. I'm going to play the Springleaf Drum before I play the Smith so that I can make mana with this kind of no matter what. Ballista and Ozolith both seem pretty reasonable. I think I have to take Ballista because I don't have another artifact creature to Ozolith onto. Obviously this is kind of an awkward thing about... this deck is not all your creatures are artifacts, but that's okay. Maybe could have played Power Conduit this turn, so we could Vial in the Ravager next turn. But I think we have lethal if we draw a land, and if not, we are making a big Shadowspear creature. Although I suppose they can turn off the lifelink from Rolling Vortex. Okay, looks like big Shadowspear likely going to be good enough. Down to 5. Let's leave Vial at 2. Draw another Power Conduit. Shadowspear. 6 is bigger than 5. At least it was the last time I checked. Could maybe die. You know, we're going up to 13, and then back down to 11. So they have to have Boros Charm. No, I can't die. Flap with the 16 months. Thank you. Not with them having 3 cards in hand. Easy breezy so far this league. Gonna bring in the 3rd Caverns. Gonna cut one of the canopies. Probably just cut both canopies. Be at 20 lands is fine. I'm gonna bring in all the Haywire Mites. I remember there was a kind of a funny conversation we had at the CFB testing house where I can't remember who was talking to who, but we were like, someone was like, well, yeah, sideboarding against burn is not as simple as bringing in all of your cards and say gain life against it. And Reed was like, I don't know. Oh yeah, Jar is probably pretty good too. And Reed was like, I don't know. That is more or less usually how I sideboard. Is anything that says gain a life on it, I bring in, and anything that says lose a life, I board out. Being a little hyperbolic, but that was pretty funny. Maybe I don't. Maybe I don't Gemstone Caverns. I don't really want to shotgun through. I'll Gemstone Caverns. I think you'll probably just pitch the jar. Pitching Vial seems fine. Maybe. Kinda don't hate it. I think I'd rather pitch the jar. The big two of mine is Hammer is the deck that is already running a non-ideal number of white mana sources. Cutting 80 lands for Gemstone make your mana awkward. Yeah, for sure. I recognize that. Are Hammer players still playing 4 Springleaf Drum? Because I feel like maybe 4 Drum is fine. I don't know. Maybe not. They got 1 card left in their hand. It's a burn spell. Why don't pitch second Zabaz? This is why. Zabaz is good in multiples. Three drums? Yeah, I think if you play the 4th drum, it gets a bit cleaner, you know. So we can beat a burn spell. We can beat 1 burn spell. Obviously playing this lets them play around it, but I kind of don't want them to just pass, and then I'm like, oh, do I vial this in? Do I not? It's like a little weird. So they did top deck a burn spell, but thankfully we have a Mite. We're at 1. They're at 14. The problem is that that's a 3-turn clock, and we just have to fade so many cards. Don't quite. Inkmoth Nexus gives me lethal if I draw Ravager next turn, I think. Although I had lethal if I drew Ravager, and they do draw running burn spells. We go to game 3. You could have destroyed Mite with Zabaz instead of X-Lang Vial. Oh yeah, that is a line I've never done, but that is a cool line. Going kind of low on lands, but I just really don't want to have 2 Horizon Canopy. I might even play second Gemstone over. Oh, too late. I probably should have just played second Gemstone over the second Canopy. Okay, we'll keep this one though. Any reason to play the Welding Jar turn 1? Not really. They can't really do anything to destroy my Vial on turn 1. I think Cavern and Hammer is a meta call. I don't know. I feel like it's maybe just great. Like turn 1 Stoneforge Mystic, turn 1 like Saga plus the turn 1 Saga plus the Caverns is always great. Like I think I could get really behind just 1 main, 2 side Gemstone Caverns and Hammer, and like when you're on the draw, like Gemstone Caverns I think just does count as a white source. But like, you know, you only evaluate that in like sideboard games. You only evaluate it as a white source in sideboard games though. I think we're playing 2 Sentinels here. Squid with the 34, thank you. And I could sack the jar to gain 2 life, maybe. Yeah, I don't really like the Solitude tech too much. I just like can't wrap my head around conceptually like why it's good, and most of the time when I ask about it, I feel like the answer is just Solitude's a good card, you know, put it in the deck. But it is hard to play around. That I think is my number one. The number one credit you can give the Solitude and Hammer plan. Okay, there's a Haywire Mite on top. Let's take 2. Agatha's Soul Cauldron Scales. You don't really have, I guess, you don't have like activated abilities, right? Like it doesn't let you Paladin, does it? Okay, well, I will happily take 2 cards here. Take this up to 2. Did not find another land, unfortunately, not yet. Okay, there's another land. I think I just played 2 Scales. We just are gonna have Omega Lethal next turn with the Ozolith, and I like Omega Lethal. How's the White Splash been? Well, this deck is more about the Aether Vials, I think, than it is the White Splash. Just Vial lets you have like more explosive starts, slightly grindier game plan, harder to play around, some, you know, crazy turns where you just get to play like 2 2-drops on the same turn that you otherwise could never do early. Makes Power Conduit better. Although I feel like in this list, maybe like a 2-2 split of Power Conduit, Aether Vial is better. Thinking of testing Agatha's Cauldron in my scales. We played Cauldron in like normal scales earlier this week, and it was great. It was really, really good. I would certainly recommend it. Wear Tear. So we'll draw 2. A Haywire Mite and a Sentinel. I think I'm going to jar here. We just have so many 2-drops we can draw into, despite not having one in our hand at the moment. So, because they can block, I don't think we have lethal, right? Or maybe we just do. We put 3 artifacts into play. Block the Ravager. I sacrifice these 3 artifacts in the Vial. That's 8 counters on the Ravager, plus 2 more for the 10, and then we modular 11. Yeah, it's not quite enough. I think I'll still play the Ozolith to play around to smash the Smithereens. Ozolith doubles array, but the problem with Ozolith is they just block whatever I put all the counters on. I don't have any you know, the Inkmoth is summoning sick. I can't get through just a block. And this line lets me gain 4, which is not particularly beatable. Have I tested Elvish Archivist in the Night of Sweet's Revenge build? I haven't. It is maybe good. I like the suggestion. Yeah, so I can Ozolith Inkmoth this turn. The Inkmoth Nexus I played for turn, so I couldn't have done it last turn. Almost clicked on that. Probably would be a mistake. With Rolling Vortex in play to click on that Welding Jar right about now. Oh, opponent, what are we doing here that we're drawing a card? You don't want to bluff that you have something? I mean, I guess I'm obviously going for it. Okay, 2-0. Things going pretty smoothly. Did I build Mono White Conduit Humans? I did build it. I tested it off stream, and it was okay. I didn't feel like it was something I was that interested in bringing to the stream yet. Maybe a little bit more work, especially with like new set coming out too. Like a lot of these older brews. The worst pain in Modern, being on the play with the Gemstone Caverns. I will keep this on 5. We got double Saga. Smith will find us something. I guess the best thing I could find would be a Power Conduit, probably. In glaring things this deck struggles with compared to regular scales. It's like, it's slower. It's slower, but in some ways more explosive because of the vials. It's a bit grindier, which I don't really feel like scales necessarily needs. I don't know. But I've mostly just kind of been theory crafting this build for a long time, and I didn't think that this build was possible for a long time, and I finally, with Elvish Archivist, think that you can build scales this way, so I'm just kind of excited to play it, if that makes sense. Yeah, I'll take Power Conduit over anything else, I imagine. And I did. This is the best set in a while that has both a lot of good sweet builder rounds that didn't introduce anything busted to warp the format. Maybe. I mean, I think there have been a lot of standard sets like this that have like a good handful of like fun build around cards that are interesting and powerful, but don't break the format. I actually feel like it's a lot of lands drawn. I think a lot of a lot of decks recently have, or a lot of sets recently have. I feel like been like this. I don't. This is maybe the best example though. Let's go ahead and grow the Smith. I miss Skyclave. I feel like Skyclave was really briefly good back in the PT era. Oh fuck. Well, I was a bit worried about that. What are they doing? What is their deck? Domain, Yawgmoth, Halfling? Nonsense. I've drawn a land. I kept a 5-lander. Drawn a land every draw step. I think I'd take Ozolith. I've never played pre-modern. I think for the most part, pre-modern is a format that can be very nostalgic for people who played a lot with these older cards, and I never really have. I started playing a Return to Ravnica, so I'm not nostalgic for the card pool, if that makes sense. Tamashi? I don't know. Yeah, I'm a big hater of Urza Saga and Domain decks typically. Don't think I'm gonna play around Needle by making a token now. Play around Sweepers. They have Breach deck maybe? That's a Beanstalk and Domain. The problem with Beanstalk and like Scion of Draco Domain is that Scion of Draco is a card where you want to put as much power into play as possible and turn your creature sideways and kill your opponent. And these kind of decks really don't want to take the turn off to play a 2-mana card draw spell. Like that you like have to play on turn 2. It's like an AI generated modern deck. AI generated Breach deck. I'm not main decking the Needle, right? Maybe we'll draw like a relevant spell instead of a mana source every single turn this game. Nope, more mana. I guess I'm in for the Zabaz doesn't give me lethal ever, right? Yeah, I guess I'm in for the very boring make a token, grab a Shadowspear, equip, and then maybe we're dead to their combo. And maybe we're not. Like, they do have to chomp, so they at least lose the halfling with this line. Yeah, I thought about playing an AI-generated modern deck back when, like, ChatGPT was, like, this new fad, trend, whatever. And, like, I asked ChatGPT to build the perfect modern deck, and it immediately starts typing 4 Liliana of the Veil, 4 Snapcaster, 4 Siege Rhino, 4 Kolaghan's Command. It was so funny. It was, a 4 Lightning Bolt was, like, in all the decks it built. It was very, very funny. Man, I don't know. I drew so bad and just, like, I don't think I've ever drawn this bad. Like I kept a 5-lander, and every single draw step was a land or an Aether Vial, and I won really easily. I don't think I've ever had a game where the top of my library was so bad, but I won so easily. That was very odd. Okay, Mite seems pretty good against them. Very Breach, Saga, Leyline Binding deck. See, I know we got Shadowspear that game. I think it's a fine one to trim. I think you can trim Ballista in this build. Maybe we don't need 4 Haywire Mites, but I'll play 3 Haywire Mites probably. Trim is a Zabaz? Kind of weird. Let's do it. Oh, and I need to cut a land. 0 copies of 2-mana Ozolith. That's surprising. Yeah, it's just when you play Aether Vial in your deck, you have super harsh restrictions. Oh, okay. I know this hand doesn't have any colored mana. I'm going to keep. This is the only card that's locked up at the moment, although it's a pretty important card. I know this build is weird. We could probably be playing like you could play 2 less Power Conduits, play 1 2-mana Ozolith and one Cauldron or 2 Cauldron, but I think the list is pretty stretched as it is. If you could Vial Ballista in, things would be a lot smoother. And then I don't know, maybe you don't play Archivist at that point. Would be the thing. Not sure. Also, certainly very surprised that their deck is one that's capable of going turn 1 Urza Saga. They did mulligan to 6. I think they have Emery. Maybe. The Cage is pretty good against Emery. If they had Emery in their hand, they would have cast it already. Wow, Wrenn and 6 off of turn 2 Wrenn and 6 with a Saga in play is kind of cool. Into Mamber. Alright, my opponent's doing some stuff. Maybe Kethis. Kethis is a good guess. I don't know if they needle my Violet sucks, but I don't want to Violet. Oh, they actually have the Saga too. That's cool. I don't want to Violet and they just ping it with the Wrenn. Oh, I am pretty bone. This is cool. I'm still shocked they have Leyline Binding in their deck, though. It almost feels like their deck is just like generic, generic like 4-color good stuff with Urza Saga and Breach. Almost. I think it is just Breach combo. I'm gonna put the counters on the Inkmoth Nexus, deny them the card draw. Cool that Mamber taps for 4 colors here. Tap for a red, untap, then attack. That was Venus Orange on. It was okay. It wasn't, you know, super exciting, unfortunately. It's a Breach deck doing domain stuff, like how people used to be all over blue-white control plus Wrenn and 6. Yeah, blue-white with Wrenn and 6 is, I don't know, it's okay, but your mana is so painful and not very good. I play 2 Urza Saga in deck like this. I mean, I just want to play Leyline Binding. They're just breach combo with Leyline Binding, it seems. And Halfling. Halfling is also a card that's very odd in their deck. I just concede. I don't know. I'm feeling so behind. Let's play it out. Let's let them do their thing. Oh my gosh, I did not mean to. I meant to cast. I mean, it's not going to be a huge difference. I did mean to cast the vial. A little bit less mana efficient. Oh, and I am actually just dead. Okay, that's fine. Game 3. Very weird game. Let's bring in a Needle. Seems like it'll probably have a lot of targets. Ridden 6 to Fairy, One Ring. I don't think we necessarily want to. We've already boarded in a lot of cards. Obviously, you mostly just search it up. Hope they play Urza Saga turn 1 again. Explosives on 0, so they have a turn 1 Emery. Turn 1 Emery is kind of okay for me when I have double Esper Sentinel, I think. I think I'm supposed to trip too much about this. Although that Explosives on 1 is a bit scary. I guess I could probably Haywire Mite it if they just cast Explosives on 1. So we'll go cast Sentinel, Violin Sentinel. I suppose I just cast the Mite for mana efficiency, although like letting them know about it is a bit awkward here. I think they milled over the explosives here. It's just so tough. So they're paying for at least 1 Sentinel. They're gonna have to correct their fetch if they want to pay for both. Spies, the 16 months. Thank you. Welcome back. They are going to pay for both. I guess we're just so cold to them just having land for the explosives. Them milling over that second explosives was just the worst. I guess we... No, I don't leave the mana up for the Haywire Mite. I'm okay putting the Sentinel to play, so if they do go explosives plus pop, we draw 3 cards and we'll be capable of rebuilding. Although I get to Haywire Mite the Saga to stop them from being able to pop explosives here. If we respond to Saga's first chapter, they can't make any mana with it. We have no attacks here. Fetch line would be good. They play their explosives. Presumably they let me draw 3 cards. Little late Grafdigger's Cage, but we'll take it, I guess. We'll happily take it. Okay, I'm gonna play this. I think this turn we play Scales, Cage, Saga, Zabaz. Very good rebuild. Opponent's down to 6 also. They can't combo through the cage. Can't Emery through the cage. Leyline Binding will save them maybe. Their mana's just so... It seems so painful. Like, just why are we playing Binding? I don't know. Maybe it's fine. Yeah, Sentinel's another idea here is like Sentinel's much better with all these power conduits to put counters on the Sentinel, let it survive Bowmaster. This recast EE. No, Cage stops them from casting EE. Okay, so I should just be able to go Ravager, Ballista, kill them in their upkeep. Grafdigger's Cage doesn't often do something in Modern, but in this specific case, it does, in fact, do something. Things are going pretty smoothly. I think, you know, we play a lot of new brews on this channel. We play a lot of decks. And, like, it's important to acknowledge when a reasonable build is going poorly because your opponents are drawing super well, maybe you're drawing above or below average. And it's also important to acknowledge leagues like this where our opponents are fumbling and we're drawing super well. You know, I don't feel like I have like any thoughts on the deck at the moment, despite being 3-0. Besides, I'm very happy that I'm finally getting to play Vial and Scales. GG's Fern Dog. I feel like the bindings are a bit. How do I never notice I'm up against Benine till I am? Scales is typically very good against Living End, though. That being said, this build is much worse probably than traditional Scales against them. That is the card, though. The card you really want to have against them. Perfect top deck. Not really any point in not vialing in the Archivist here, since if Benino Living ends, the Griefs are just going to get to take it. Although, yeah, now Grief gets to take both of them. Has a reach creature for my Inkmoth Nexus. Also, things are not looking so good. Minone with the casual. How like literally? How does Living End have 4 cards in hand here? How do you double Grief and have 4 cards in hand? I just never. That's just crazy to me. Just have 4 cards in these kind of games. Oh, but so they didn't evoke the second Grief. Sorry, they got it over with Waker. Never mind. All the psychic damage. Because other calls draw. Yeah, they just replace themselves. But it was because of the Waker. If there, it would only be 2 cards if it was a second evoked Grief there. Casual 0 power Esper Sentinel is also always very funny. Scales would be really good. Ozolith would be good. The Ballista doesn't do a ton. Could you put the Ravager count on Nexus? No, if you animate Nexus to modular onto it, just dies to the Living End, and if you can't like respond to the modular trigger by animating Nexus because it has to target immediately. So probably taking 11. No, I can't take 11 because then if I crack the fetch, I'm dead to just the Grief menace stuff. What is that? 13, basically 16. Concede to a Force of Negation. Block everyone, sack with Ravager, let them die to move counters Inkmoth. It's just not enough. Okay, I mean, you know, okay. So we do have Tormod's Crypts in the deck. Cage is not doing anything against Living End. I think I'll bring in some jars too. Maybe not the full 3, maybe the full 3. I think that this is probably where we go down to like 1 Power Conduit, Trim Ballista, Trim Smith. I just remember facing Menino Day in the trophy race. It was such a brutal, brutal opponent to have. I've seen so few situations where Cage is used recently. Did you watch the last match? Did you watch the last match? It was a pretty good last match. I mostly want the I want the Crypt against Yawgmoth in any deck with Underworld Breach is typically why I play it. Is a life gain from Mite relevant? Not in this matchup so much. I didn't, yeah. It's okay, it's good. It's like today earlier someone was like the Bant deck looks really bad against Titan, and we like just I have not had a more lopsided match ever than the Titan matchup today. It's okay. It's fine. I get people tune in. My opinion on Red Black Goblins and Lord of the Rings Modern. Goblins is a great deck. I think Goblins is like has been like maybe the most underplayed deck in Modern for years. We've played a good amount of it, and it's been like it's been consistent, it's been good, and it's been consistently good. Is my usual take. Well, we're getting Force of Vigor. No, I wouldn't play 63. I would play 61 though. The 63 was like. I didn't end up liking the I'd play either Sting of Scourger or the one that or the 2/2 that you buff. I'm not sure which one, but I would play one or the other, not both. Combo or grindy? It's, I mean, both. The combo is also very grindy. The Aether Vial Snoop combo deck. Nino, Nate, please. I've got a stream. You're embarrassing me in front of my stream. How could you do this to me? Is this revenge for the trophy race? Can you explain why Voidmere isn't good? I mean, Voidmere is usually worse than Chalice, but it's a fine sideboard card. Voidmere costs 2, Chalice costs 0. But it's kind of nice to have them in multiples sometimes. Thinking that I want to be able to activate Zabaz. I probably need to cast the Ravager here so Minune can't cycle and put anything else in the yard before the Ravager comes down. I'm not sure that a Ravager by itself is beating... I do get to draw a card if Minune Violent Outbursts. I get to fill my graveyard. I have to beat a Foundation Breaker and a Street Wraith against an opponent at 9. It seems like doable enough. Despite not having mini resources. Why 61? Is there literally no card to cut? There's no card. There's no in the Goblins deck. There's no card I would rather cut than play 61 cards. Your deck that has tons of tutors, and like I just wouldn't. There's no card I'd rather cut than play 61 in the Goblins deck at the moment. It's a weird dynamic, but that is the current dynamic I'm playing with. That might do it. Although now a opposing living end is getting pretty dangerous. And I just have to take 5 here. I'm not beating a living end probably in general, but I'm definitely not beating a living end that includes a violent upper. So we could play Nexus and then make a 3/3 blocker, but I think we'll just not. And you know, except that you basically lose a lot of the games that end up going like this. Another spot where I've boarded out my Shadowspear in this matchup and live to regret it. So I think I have to get Zabaz that I can actually attack this turn. I'm not winning by going Tormod's Crypt. No. Oh, I did leave the Shadowspear. I totally thought I boarded it out. Does that make things super easy? Do I just go Shadowspear, Aether Vial, equip, 4, 5, up to 7. Block here, take 6. Yeah, I think so. Oh, I did mean to cut it. But there's just like so many games end up like this that you just end up regretting it. Maybe I shouldn't be cutting it. I have definitely drawn it many times and regretted it too. I think playing Ravager was a misplay. You could have kept up Drum to kill one of your creatures. I talked about keeping up Drum to keep one of my creatures. But the problem, I had to play Ravager. Like, you see how many cyclers my opponent had? If I don't play Ravager and I let my opponent just cycle, I lose. I'm not like what is the plan to win? Menino, please stop! Damn it! Oh my gosh. Yeah, I regret cutting against Living End a lot of times on stream, and I still do it for some reason. Menino, please don't draw the second Force of Vigor. Bring back Foundation Breaker into Beseiju. We were still like into Cast Curator. We were still pretty in that game, but not in it enough. This is a weird hand. I kind of want to keep for Science. Don't love being on the draw against Ragavan, of course. Who does? Imagine Blood Moon. Okay. Man, Vial would have been so much better in my opening hand. I would be putting a counter on it here, vialing in a 2-drop. I'm still going to play my Power Conduit this turn, and then next turn I get to go... Next turn I think I'm going to lose a Saga, float a mana. Lose a Saga, float a mana, get a Zabaz. Then tick up Power Conduit. Oh, then use the floating mana, play Vial. Take Vial up to 2. Vial and Archivist, play my land, draw a card. And just like lose if my opponent even thinks about the card Blood Moon. Titles Tracker with the 27 months, thank you. They play Power Conduit. Oh, with their Fable, that's so cool. Oh, that's awesome. Don't play a Blood Moon and end the game, opponent. You want to play with your Power Conduit. Okay, exactly. And I think our plan has remained the same. I think we can't play our Ballista this turn, or don't want to play our Ballista this turn, maybe. Maybe we should get Ozolith this turn, though. Or can I play Ballista? So I'm going to cast... Oh, sorry, the Vial doesn't tick up to 3. Oh, never mind. I do need to play Ballista. I guess we get Zabaz. Cast Archivist. Draw a card. Ooh. Yeah, I think seeing the Ozolith here, I want to cast the Ozolith and Vial instead of playing Ballista. 2/3 blocks super well here also. Although I guess maybe it blocks a little bit worse because of the Power Conduit. Weird game. Violent Ballista for counters. We can do that on our opponent's turn. Which I think I am likely to do here because my opponent can now make this a 4/5. So I just my own Archivist activation or my own Conduit activation is not going to win the combat. And now they also get to loot every turn, which is pretty dang good. Very cool game. Guess I lose a counter for the Ozolith doing this. It's kind of ends up being a wash, maybe. Also, don't play around Bowmaster. Oh, they do all this before even. They do all this before even looting away, which is bad news. Yeah, I would play Scales. I would play 2 Cauldrons. I think I'm going to play the Super Qualifier, Scales in the Super Qualifier on Sunday. And not stream tomorrow. That's my tentative plan. 2 cards in their hand. I do not like how long they're thinking here. Oh, are they thinking about peeling a counter? They're about putting a charge counter on my Aether Vial, I think. It's kind of interesting. Doesn't really do anything. Maybe they've just left to do some homework. So I'm going to violin my Elvish Archivist. Then I'm going to remove a counter from Urza Saga, put a counter on Elvish Archivist. I think I get Shadowspear, equip it to the Archivist, and then play a 1/1 Ballista, put 2 counters on it, is tentatively my plan. I think that is continuing to be the plan here. Have I considered Cauldron? Yes, we've played Cauldron Scales. Cauldron is good in Scales. I know I don't have it in this exact build, but this build is just a little bit like different, kind of more experimental. Put a counter on their Voidwalker in response. That makes sense. Alright, so let's just kill it now. They have an Undying spell we can lose. That's fine. Archivist has been looking pretty good. I don't think you want to play it in more traditional Scales, probably. I think it makes a lot of sense in this Vial build. Yeah. Cauldron has been confirmed good in Scales. Recommend it. Tough stuff. Game 2. Do you think normal Scale's pretty good against Scam? Get a better idea of how this is going forward. I'm gonna bring in the wrong 0-mana artifacts. Jars. Though we don't really have too much to cut. Maybe this is actually, maybe we just like stick with our regular game plan. We're not as weak to hit at Sugu. We have a lot more 2-drops. We don't have the patchwork plan. Let's do this instead. Oh wait, I am on the play. Sorry, I did think I was on the draw for some reason. I guess I could choose to be on the draw. No, I don't like Cage Against Scam. I used to bring it in and I don't like it so much. It's definitely about the time of the day it gets kind of hot in here. I think one of Mite is correct. The thing is, like, Mite is just not good Blood Boon hate. Like if they Blood Boon your Sagas, you can't tutor for the Mite, or like your Sagas still die sometimes. No, Conduit is really good. This is like the best Conduit matchup, I think. I don't think you want to cut the Conduits. But after today, it's finally going to stop being like 105 every day. It's going to be like in the 70s next week, which is just sounds like heaven. Spear on Ballista ever the play? I mean, I've put a Shadowspear on Ballista before. It doesn't happen all the time. Or that often, rather. I guess if they Grief Scam, I'll Vial and Ballista for fun. Incredibly good draw. Oh yeah, Archivist. Yeah, Archivist lets you draw with a Blood Moon in play with your Sagas. That's actually pretty cool. So if my opponent scams their grief, or I should say when my opponent scams my grief, should I just ping it twice? 2/2 Ballista is pretty valuable. Let's I think if I had a spell in my hand, or like a good spell in my hand, I would probably ping Ballista. But I just also don't have a spell in my hand for them to take, so I think I let this go. Close decision. Curious what y'all would have done, maybe. It's like we're just so ahead on board if we just make a Saga token and they have an empty board. The 4/3 maybe helps them race. Although I'll definitely take best possible draw. You're not on any Leyline or Graveyard Hate? Against Scam, no. I have Tormod's Crypts in my deck though. Against Scam, you don't beat them with Graveyard Hate. That's not the plan. I'm gonna main phase make a token so they can't Orcish Bowmaster my Archivist. They Fatal Push it. Oh, Leyline Goblins. I don't know. I mean, I haven't played Goblins the last time. The last deck in my mock in the Mox field is the last one. I don't know how I would build the sideboard at the moment. See a lot of Commandeer. Might be underestimating. Seems so costly. I mean, it's not costly. It's 0 mana. I don't know. I think it's fine. I think that I would be not unhappy to register. I'm gonna jar here. I would be not unhappy to register Commandeer in some of these decks right now. It seems pretty good from what I've in my experience. Yeah, I think we just want to get every point of damage, especially with this Ballista in play. Like we can just go sack 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we don't have to sack that many. 1, 2, 3 counters with Welding Jar up. Not really anything we lose to. Okay, game 3. Yeah, I think Scam is a good matchup for Goblins. Not, obviously you can lose, but I think if you like to play creature decks and you're interested in beating Scam as a creature deck, I think your best choices are Scales and Goblins, and maybe Merfolk. Scam, Goblins, Merfolk, the mono white humans with the Shining Shoal and the Sanctifiers in the sideboard isn't too bad. Not the best, maybe. We pitch Ballista here. That's like all the creature decks. I mean, it's not Yawgmoth, but also like unironically, yes. Like people go on and on and on and on about how Scam invalidates creature decks in Modern, but there just are plenty of viable creature decks that can beat Scam. How's Rhino's his favorite against Scam too? Maybe I shouldn't have played this turn 1 Sentinel because of Bowmasters. How's it know? Yeah, the Archivist has been good. I've been liking it. Night of Sweet's Revenge was great. The card was like surprise. It was. I thought it was gonna be good, and I think it ended up being great. Well, I'm excited. I await its career with eager Anticipation. They can beat Scam, but Scam is their worst matchup, pretty much. I think the Scales has an actively great Scam matchup. We played against it in the challenge on the weekend. Our first 3 matches were Scam. We got Grief Scammed the first 4 games. We mulled to 5 one game and got Grief Scammed, and we won the first 3 matches. I think Scam of the top decks is like Scales, one of Scales' best matchups. I think that's also maybe true for Goblins. I haven't been playing a ton of Goblins lately, so I may be kind of off about it. I do think this build of Scales is also probably worse than traditional. Will Cauldron put Scales to be tier 1 if Scam is also tier 1? I mean, I think Scales like has been like my #1 choice for a tournament recently, even like not counting Cauldron being printed. Cauldron is very good. You do lose sometimes when they draw their Hitotsugu. Cauldron is very good, and I think it'll certainly help. The thing is, like, also with Scales, the deck is very hard to play. You're just not going to get a ton of people who are going to pivot to the deck just because the deck is incredibly difficult. Wafo's recent. I haven't seen Wafo's most recent Grixis list, but I've been liking Wafo's lists in general a lot lately. Oh, the Wicked Roll got killed by Hitotsugu. That's so funny. Huh. Okay, so we'll keep track how relevant this is. Did they do that pre-combat, or did they attack first? Can't remember. I think they attacked first. I think that they've lost 2 damage because of this. Okay, so I'm gonna put them to 5. I don't get just the random main deck stone. It's interesting though. I guess it's good against Scam, huh? Only 1 Bowmaster is really weird. Yeah, I mean, I like Wafu's list though. So we're kind of drawing to like exactly Shadowspear, which is not ideal. Now that probably doesn't do it. Yeah, it's nice because in paper, like, no one will remember Hitotsugu kills the roll token. Okay, 3-0 into 3-2. I think that this build is probably not as good as like traditional Scales, and that's kind of what I was thinking going into it too. Did not feel bad. Elvish Archivist is also like very sweet and powerful, but maybe has like too many deck building restrictions to fit into decks. I'll maybe be looking at it in food shells. I'll keep it in mind. It's kind of a fast league, but I want to keep it in mind going forward. I think I'm also going to call the stream here. I'm like really hungry today. Did a little bit of a longer stream yesterday too. Who to raid today?